But right now, to me, right now, I think that is, which is good because for you people out of town, you're going to get a treat. This brother, to me, is when you talk about a researcher on this stuff, you talking about one of the best in probing into that which is hidden, so I'm not going to just characterize what he's going to speak on because just to put a label on one aspect of it and all, because I know how it is when I come up and speak, and I might have about 50,000 things I'm going to say. So right now we're going to bring Brother Otim on. He resides here now in Atlanta, but he's homeboy, right? Columbia? Columbia? What part of South Carolina were you from? Huh? Socastee. You're from Texas, right? But you was living in where? What part of South Carolina then? Oh, something. What am I taking about something? Yeah, okay. Yeah, my grandmama went to college down there at Morris. As a matter of fact, my mama and my damn daddy met. No, my father was at Shaw Air Force Base. That's how you got there. See, there's a connection. See? You see? So so that's how my father met my mother at Shaw Air Force Base. You know how it is. She was in college. You know, they go down there to look for a husband or whatever the deal is. You know. So yeah. So that's a connection. I used to go to something every weekend. Which is, I think, what? So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to take up the time and all. It is kind of mesmerizing. I feel like the sister caught the Holy Ghost up here today. This microphone, But anyway, give up a black hand for Brother Otim. Yeah. All right. Now, like I said, this is how the research is supposed to be done. So, do your thing. Oh, microphone. Oh, yeah. Okay, let me see. However you want to do it.
Okay. Yeah, guys. Get it. Just a second. TV studio, they always have a crew to hook you up. You just raise your hands like that and they hook you up. So that's why I was deficient. But I give thanks today to the Most High, and I also give thanks to our ancestors on whose shoulders that we stand. It said if we stand tall, it's because we stand on the shoulders of many ancestors. And of course, we got a ways to go, but we're standing. I give thanks. Of course, that's the nature of the totem pole. People speak low of the low man on the totem pole, they say. But if you understand the nature of ancestors, the low man is the strongest man. The first man is holding everybody up. Therefore, the more and the most respected. But from a European context, it seems like that's a degraded position. But it's an elevated position because he's the one who elevates everybody. So we stand on those shoulders, and I give thanks. I'm Brother Otim, for those of you who don't know me, as Bobby said. Bobby and I started out around the same time, doing the same things. I'm a Dr. Clark student from the heart. I tell you that right now. Love Dr. Clark. I was the only drummer at his funeral. I thought that a lot of the other African drummers are around here, and it's loaded. But I was surprised when Dr. Clark passed that I took my drum as an afterthought. I said, well, I might ought to. And I did. I was the only one that had a drum there. And we got up a ceremony on the spot and everything. So it all worked out. And he took his journey to the ancestors in style, I think. Grand style, delivered his own eulogy and everything. And then before he closed his eyes, he said, I think I see Nkrumah and, who was it? No, Nkrumah and Jesus coming. They coming to take me. See y'all later. Bam, he was gone. But he left a legacy here, and that's very important. And what we are doing here today is really leaving a legacy here after those ancient traditions, leaving a legacy for our children to follow. But if we don't leave that legacy, then somebody else will leave a legacy. And it won't be positive. It won't be good. It will be destructive. I think that we're in the last days of this beast controlling everything. In the last days, it said that evil men and seducers would wax worse, deceiving and being deceived. So much so until those who proclaim to have truth, called the elect, or should we say select, would be deceived also. But one thing about it, we are told, we shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free. We are here to eradicate ignorance. I love reading about Frederick Douglass. I've read him so much until I think I know how his voice sounds. But anyway, when Frederick Douglass was a young boy, there was a slave master's wife who took it upon herself to teach him how to read. And of course, the text that she chose to teach him from was the Bible. And she was reading it, and they had the classes going on. And so the slave master, Captain Maul, came in and caught her, teaching him how to read from the Bible. And all hell broke loose. So what are you doing? In the first place, it's against the law. And then learning will do him no good, but a great deal of harm. And say, if you teach him how to read the Bible, and I want to commend the brother and sister who was up before I was, who have a book that breaks things down that will enhance reading the Bible for those who read the Bible. But anyway, if you teach him how to read the Bible, not just to read it, but how, he said it would forever unfit him to be a slave. Now that's deep. Now, I don't know how many people has read that autobiography, but I wonder if they all got the same thing I got out of that, because it said if you teach him how, it will forever unfit him to be a slave. Said a slave should know no more than the will of his master, and therewith be content. He said that if you teach him how to read, then the next thing he'll want to know is how to write. And with this accomplished, he will be running away with himself. With this accomplished, he will be running away for himself. So when he said, if you give a nigger an inch, he'll take an L. And that is the way. He said that it will forever unfit him to be a slave. And so that's what I set out, and the mission that I have that was given to me was to destroy all the niggers that I come in contact with. To destroy all niggers that I come in contact with. Now don't go search me down. I don't have no Uzi or nothing on them. I'm not fixing to shoot anybody. But I want to destroy that nigger's mentality. I want to raise up a black man or a black woman in the stead through consciousness. And this is the only way we're going to do it, and this is the only way we're going to get rid of these chains. Now, I saw this was a little picture in a magazine. Some of you may have seen it. But as you can see, here's a brother who has locks coming from his head. All right? These are not dreadlocks. I like to refer to them as deadlocks. These are chains coming from his head. And when I saw that, immediately it told me this is the nature of most of our people now. And not only our people, but some white folks too. Whole bunch of them. As Dick Gregory told an audience one time, said, when y'all wake up and find out who the real niggas is, I don't want to be around here. And I just found out who they really were. Now, this wasn't supposed to be a part of my presentation, but then again, when you're led by the Spirit, you don't have no part, you just follow. All right? So This is what we need to talk about this evening, dropping these locks. And another thing we have to get over, let me say, that we encounter periodically, is something called cognitive dissonance. When you deal with things outside of the box and outside of the so-called mainstream, and when you approach people and they've never heard what you said, they've never even heard it hinted at, and you're coming forward strong with this information that you found. And of course, you know that information is control, knowledge is power, and information is control. If you don't have information, then you can't be in control. If you don't have knowledge, then you cannot be in power. And to not know history is to forever remain a child. We got to know what happened, to know what's going on. So I learned from Dr. Clark that all history is a current event. And as Bobby was saying earlier concerning ASCAC, they got up to the historical point. I can say too, because I was a member of ASCAC, card-carrying member of ASCAC. I've been to more conferences than you can shake a stick at, and let me tell you, I learned a whole lot. But what I learned spurred me on to action. And I was wondering why it wasn't spurring everybody else on to action. I wanted to do. And at one conference, what came up? Something about, I forgot what it was, in South Carolina, the last conference I went to. But anyway, I had some serious information on it that I had spoken with the source. I think it was dealing with the Federal Violence Initiative and what was going on with the children. Through the Federal Violence Initiative in '93, I was putting out information on the Federal Violence Initiative, where the beast has proclaimed that he knows which children are going to be violent later on in life. So now, according to Success by Six, a program that I ran across, which when I was on WRFG, there was a spot there, a 30-second spot, advertisement spot, called Success by Six. And it just so happened that I was curious in it. I asked the brother who was managing the station, I said, what is that? Success by Six. He said, I don't know. Let's pop it in and see. Popped it in, and here were the so-called experts, all right? And you have to be aware of experts, because I learned that an expert is, an X is a has-been, and a spurt is a drip under pressure. So beware of experts, all right? But we have those who know what they know, and you know they know what they know. But anyway, in '93, I was talking about the Federal Violence Initiative. And of course, it was put out by Dr. Peter Bregan up in D.C. But then I found out where Dr. Bregan got it from. He got it from, what's the brother's name? He's over journalism at Howard University. I was just fixing to call his name, and it eluded me, but it'll come back to me. But anyway, I talked to him, and he told me about the information that he gave Dr. Peter Bregan, whereas they want to say that they know we have some genetic deficiency that causes us to be violent prone. But they have a remedy through drugs and family counseling. They have a magic pill that you can come and take, and that'll straighten it out. Ritalin, Prozac, and all these other psychotropic drugs that are being created so that they can control masses. Because what we're dealing with is not a majority of the people. We're not dealing demographically with the majority population. We're dealing with a very small minority called white people. Very, very small, less than 10% of the world's population. So they don't have the physical prowess to deal with you. As Malcolm said, it can't be even Stephen, and face a man to man. Can't be like that. But he's got to find a way to manipulate us psychologically. He don't have the numbers. We're almost at 1 billion, the Chinese are 1 billion. People of color have populated the world, and right now the pressure's on because your numbers represent your influence in world affairs. That is natural resources even. The more babies we make, the more demand we put on our own natural resources. The more we need our own food, we need our own substance. So now through population control, euphemistically called so, real name is called genocide. But genocide, I found out, starts with menticide. Because if you can't be convinced, then you won't go for the okie doke. So genocide starts with menticide. You got to kill the body first, kill the mind first. Then you can train the mind to kill its own body. That'll leave them for something else to do. This is why we get involved in all of these suicidal acts. Call it living large. All right? So we've got to overcome cognitive dissonance to prepare ourselves to receive serious information. Because 9 times out of 10 it's going to rebut everything that you've been taught. All right? Now, cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance has been has been defined by mind controllers as the theory of cognitive dissonance is a theory that the mind involuntarily rejects information not in line or cognizant with previous beliefs or actions. This is why people take off running when you start speaking something that they haven't heard in church. Oh, I know well, I was a pastor for 7 years. And you're talking about somebody who was floorboard. I mean, who was, caught with a right or left hook out of nowhere. Because I just thought I knew it. I thought I knew it. I mean, I was getting people saved. Although I used to ask myself, from what? But I didn't want nobody to think that I didn't know. But I'm thankful that I had the question. And I never did close myself off from anybody who had something to say different from what I had to say. I would brace myself now and tell them to come on with it. And it was through that I grew to the level that I am. My relationship with brothers from the mosque, as we went up to the vegetarian restaurant, they was telling me all kind of things I'd never heard of. Scared me too. But I still never could turn it loose. And I found some kind of way to package it up and take it back to the church and share it with them. And from that position, we grew, and we grew until I came heads up with a bishop, so-called. Heads up with a bishop. Man, I had people reading all kind of things. I spent 8, 9 hours up in the library a day reading Gerald Massey. And you know what I'm saying? That's what started me out. I saw it before most people knew about Gerald Massey. Doc Ben told me about him. I had a friend named Lister Belton Middleton. Most of you, does any of you know him, Lister Belton Middleton, For the People? Lister Belton and I sat in his hammock together in his backyard, and he read a lot of his poetry to me before he printed them out. So we were very, very close friends. It was through him that I got to know all of the people that I got to know while I was still a pastor. So what we did, Lister Bell and I, we got Dr. Ben Yakinen to agree to come to my church. Now this was going to be an explosion, you hear me? In South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina. We got ETV, big cameras. We had to rewire the church, little church. We had to run big 220 wires so we could hook the cameras up. But anyway, we got it there, and we had people from all sections of the community, all socioeconomic backgrounds. We had a famous heart surgeon, Dr. Dargan, Everett Dargan, out of South Carolina. We worked together at the VA hospital. And some other celebrity type people. But anyway, we had a cross section, big audience. The church was packed to hear Dr. Ben body slam Christianity. You know, I'm back here holding my breath. I said, well, I got to ride this one out. But they must know. So when it comes down to people talking about, well, certain people not ready to hear this. If not now, when? If I'm not to give it to you, then who? And if not now, when? Who is to say that I was ready or weren't ready? Who are you to know who's ready? As messengers, we have never told to pick out people who are ready. If I was that heavy, then I'd, you know what I'm saying, which I wasn't into sales. But if you could get a dot on everybody who would buy your product, then everybody in here would be a salesperson. You wouldn't have to try anything, but it's not like that. So the thing of it is, we have to overcome cognitive dissonance and open ourselves up to hear things that are different. And you don't have to buy everything. You don't have to eat everything. One analogy that I like to use is about chicken. You know, you eat the chicken and you throw the bone away, whatever you consider bone. Or for the vegetarians, you eat the fruit and spit the seed out. All right? So that's what we'll do in here today. Another definition that I'd like to share with you in building up my presentation is the legal definition of ignorance. You know, we've heard sages through the ages, from the ancient Egyptian text, the Kemetic text, on up through today, talk about ignorance. Biblically speaking, which I'm very familiar with, it says that I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren. And then it said in Hosea, the 4th chapter and 8th verse, that my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. See, there's one thing about nature, and understand the word nature comes from the word netta. This is what we call translated, that has been translated, the God, netta, medu netta, the writings of the gods. So from the word netta comes the word nature, and when we talk about dealing with nature, we're talking about dealing with God. And nature makes no excuses for you if you're ignorant. We look in the animal world on the different shows that, you know, show such things, National Geographic or whatever, and we see that animals teach their young. They don't allow anybody else to teach them. Lion takes her cubs. She doesn't go down here and let a hyena teach them how to be a lion. You know, hyenas and lions are somewhat enemies to each other. I saw a lion chase a hyena one time when the dust cleared. You didn't see what went on. You just had a good idea. And when the dust all settled, the lion walked off. So there's nothing the hyena could teach the lion. And everybody with dignity and self-worth teach their own. And one of the biggest mistakes we've made is allowing our enemies to teach our children. The biggest mistake is allowing our enemies to teach our children. And then say, I don't know what's wrong with that boy. Then when you ask them what's wrong, they say, I don't know. The parents don't know, the child don't know. That's a hell of a situation to be in. But do you know we have literally thousands, hundreds of thousands in that mess right now? They don't know whether they washing or hanging out, but yet trying to make it. They're making sincere efforts, but those efforts are being thwarted. And you ask them what's wrong, they say, I don't know, which means we better find out. So what I want to share with you today is, as I like to say, I picked up, is food for thought and grounds for further research. Food for thought and grounds for further research. If anybody finds me wrong in something, I ask you to bail me out, rescue me. I admit I don't know everything, but what I do have, I bring to you this evening. This definition I thought was pretty good because people very seldom look up the definitions of words. We take them for granted. We assume that this is what it is, and you know how it says. You know you want to be careful about assuming, A-S-S-U-M-E. You make an ass out of you and me if we don't define these things. So, in Black's Law Dictionary, there was a legal definition of ignorance, and I thought it was pretty definitive. So here it is. Ignorance, generally defined, is the want or absence of knowledge. The want or absence of knowledge. Ignorance is not a state of the mind in the sense in which sanity and insanity are. When the mind is ignorant of a fact, its condition still remains sound. The power of thinking, of judging, of willing is just as complete before communication of the fact as after. The essence or texture, so to speak, of the mind is not, as in the case of insanity, affected or impaired. Ignorance of a particular fact consists in this, that the mind, although sound and capable of healthy action, y'all hear that? This is a word we need to key in on, action. Whatever we learn in here today, we've got to apply it. If it's not applicable in our lives, then it ain't worth a damn. Do y'all agree with me? Am I wrong? If it's not applicable in your life, if you can't apply it, it's not worth having. But if it is applicable and you don't apply it, then your blood is going to be on your own head. You'll have nobody to blame but yourself. So everything we learn must have some type of application. As it raises our level of consciousness, it should raise and elevate our conditions in life. I mean, what the use is having knowledge if you're miserable? What's the use in having knowledge if it can do nothing for your standard of living? All right? I mean, if we get the knowledge that we are supposed to have, then we shouldn't be worrying about light bills and gas bills. We shouldn't be worried about basic living. If we are, then as the scriptures say, my people, God's people, whichever God you proclaim, God's people, my people, are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. So therefore, if we are suffering destruction on some end, there is something that we do not know. And like it said, if we seek it, we would find it. If we ask for it, it would be given. And if we knock, it would be opened. That is, if we refuse to be denied. All right? So it says here, concerning ignorance, is that although the mind, although sound and capable of healthy action, has never acted upon the fact in question. It's sound and capable, has never acted upon the fact in question. Whatever question that is, whatever question of fact that is, the mind has never acted on it. Why? Because the subject has never been brought to the notice of the perceptive faculties. It's never been brought to the notice of the perceptive faculties. What are the perceptive faculties? The eyes, we see it, we hear about it. And once it's been presented and those perceptive faculties have been noticed, now we can act upon it. Now we can do something about this situation. We're in a dilemma, we're in a situation in this world. But let me speak from my experiences, let us say, in this particular society, especially, that is crazy as hell. And we've got to figure out what is going on. And that's what my whole life has been about. Like one elder told me years ago, when I was a young boy, he asked me what made fat meat greasy and water wet. And I'm going to tell you, that stayed on my head up until the time I got a good answer. And that was not too long ago. But people might think those are conundrums, but they beg an answer, because everything that's fluid is not wet. Like what? Mercury? All right, gave you that one. But anyway, it hadn't been brought to the notice of the perceptive faculties, so therefore, whatever information that the Creator allows me to find, I bring it to the perceptive faculties. That's me. Now you got a little bit of my background and what I'm all about. We'll move right along. What I want to share with you today, Bobby and I talked about this. I ran into him at Soul Veg one night, and I was just bubbling over with some information that I had found. You know how you get new stuff and you hope you can find somebody to tell about it because it's just burning inside of you. You want somebody to say, yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's heavy. You know? So we look for each other. And that's good. That's healthy. Shows us we got to appreciate each other, because it's not a whole lot of us that want to know, that want to spend this kind of time, 3 days sitting in here listening to somebody talking about buying books. And I'm talking about spending $50, $60, $100, $200 worth. You paid how much for a book? You must be crazy. You could have bought 2 pair of Nikes for that. I just told somebody that the other day, you know, I bought a book, cost me $125. That ain't nothing but a word to me. I checked my cards, my credit card finished, you know, I said, well, I got to find it some kind of way. Maybe I can hang some paper on it, but I got to have that book. So, you know, we're a rare breed. Hanging at this time, jazz festival going on in Piedmont Park. Y'all sitting in here listening to this. But anyway, what we dealt with, we talked about the media, mainly television I was concerned with, okay? And one thing led to another. But anyway, it was concerning television. And that was an article that I had happened up on some years ago, matter of fact, 4 years ago, May 5th, 1997, all right? And this was in the New Federalist newspaper. It's a paper that was put out by Lyndon LaRouche. And Lyndon LaRouche, though I don't actually agree with all of his politics, but he did, through his newspaper, was very informative. And it had an article in here that was a series that I got the first installment, but I didn't get into the rest of them. And I wanted them so bad, and it took about 4 years, and I finally came across not only this one, but the whole book of it, and the research that they had done. But anyway, it was concerning brainwashing, how the British used the media for mass psychological control. And it was deep, mass psychological control. Now, why did he say how the British use the media for mass psychological control? Because the British are the one that's running most of everything over here. I want y'all to know that the U.S. is a British colony. They never gave it up. They never gave it up. They still train their statesmen here and everything. All right? And British is an interesting name. Does everybody know the name British, where it came from? British. You've heard of the B'nai B'rith? All right? B'rit means covenant. And Ish means man. Ishai means woman. Ish means man. So he calls himself the covenant man and sits on the throne of God. You hear me? What's in a name? But anyway, how the British use the media for mass psychological warfare. Now, one thing is it started off, the mind control aspect, with a place called the Tavistock Institute. The Tavistock Institute is located in a little town in London called, township called Tavistock. All right? That's how we get the Tavistock Institute. All right? And the Tavistock Institute was led originally by a man named John Rawlings Rees. John Rawlings Rees. John Rawlings Rees became an expert in psychological manipulation, what we call commonly mind control, brainwashing, all right? Then there was another researcher that I had talked to personally, interviewed on WRFG, and he's written quite a bit on the Tavistock Institute. His name is John Coleman. John Coleman is the only one in the country, as far as I know of, who has a manual from the Tavistock Institute, because as an economist, he once worked inside the Tavistock Institute. So as they say, you know, the Lord will send you a blessing even if the devil had to bring it to you. So that's why I listen to everybody and everything. And I think that I have enough power and enough control and enough knowledge within myself and enough godness about me that I can listen to anything and don't have to give in to any of it. And what I think is sound, I will accept, and what's not, I will just reject it. If I was wrong, don't forget, it'll come back around. Okay? But anyway, what impressed me most about him and his research, and there are places that they can get into we don't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting into. So we got to get the information from them. I know some of the heaviest information I got on Clinton, I got from the Ku Klux Klan. I'm serious. I got it from the Ku Klux Klan. Went to a Patriots meeting. I want to know what's going on. He was sitting there, he had on his bald cap, his, you know what I'm saying, and had the papers, big Confederate flag up there with a skull and crossbone on it. I looked at him, I said, poor cracker, he don't even know what he wearing his own self. I went to the master, I said, could I get one of those? He said, and I took it, thanks. Garvey knew how to deal with them. See, one of the biggest mistakes you can make is when you try to separate white folks into good ones and bad ones. And whatever you do, never let one white man tell you that another one is a racist. You're in trouble when you buy into that. All right? Got to learn from Dr. Ben. He said they're all my enemies, just some that I can get along with and some I can't. All right? But we have to walk as men amongst men. But anyway, John Rollin Reese is the one who really set up the mass brainwashing stuff out of the Tavistock Institute. They're the ones who set up the brainwashing, the experiments that took place in Korea. All right? Those methods that were used in Vietnam, the POWs, like, what's his name that ran for president? McCain, thank you. McCain was a mind control subject. He spent 5 years in a POW camp in Vietnam. And when you understand the nature of the Vietnamese war, like all wars, they're all economic wars. The same people who financed the U.S. financed the North Vietnamese. The same operations that go on in the U.S. go on in North Vietnam, or Iraq, or Iran. It's wherever. The same hands are in it. The same hands are controlling it, playing, as they say, both ends to the middle. Now, how do they sell us on these things? They sell us on it through the media. Mind control. And the main culprit now is the television. Television. Programming. Programming. They don't call it programming for nothing. John Rollin Reese started out with this. And further on down, and by the way, you can find this, there are 2 books by Dr. Coleman. It's called The Conspirator's Hierarchy, The Story of the Committee of 300, and Diplomacy by Deception. Now, regardless of what realm you're into in this world, this stuff is going to have some effect on you. It's going to have effect on your environment, the things that you do, and the things that are done to you. So I thought it was important to know them. Now, as far as television is concerned, call it that one-eyed devil. Matter of fact, as you notice, CBS has got one eye up there watching it. CBS, NBC, ABC, American Broadcast Company, Columbia Broadcast Company, Columbia. Do y'all remember seeing the inauguration? See how every word will stop me. We take so many for granted. If any of you watched the presidential inauguration when he went up to be sworn in to take his oath of office, I just happened to flip and saw that. And I was standing there watching it. I said, watch this demon tell his lie. But anyway, there was a little plaque that was sitting, like this is the podium, there was a little plaque, about half as big as this paper. Did anybody see that? It had a sign on it. It said, in the name of Columbia. Everybody I asked, nobody noticed that. I hope it was there. I thought I saw it. But it was sitting on a little sign, like he was here with his hand raised. The sign was right there. It said, in the name of Columbia. I said, wow, look at that, and there's nobody here for me to show it to. So I ask you, in the name of Columbia, some say in the name of Jesus, we know, or we think we know who that is. Some say in the name of Allah. Some say in the name of Jehovah, and so forth and so on as names go. But up here it said in the name of Columbia. Well, we know that they were in the District of Columbia. But I often wondered, who was Columbia? Some people said, well, maybe that was talking about Columbus. No, it didn't say Columbus. It said Columbia. Then we have Columbia Broadcasting Company. Then we have Columbia Pictures. There's a good clue right there. How many of you have seen the white woman holding the thing up like that with the fire, the torch, and it says Columbia Pictures? I know, I thought for the longest that had something to do with the Statue of Liberty. No, that is Columbia. That white woman holding that torch on Columbia Pictures, that is Columbia. Columbia is the white guardian angel, or the angel of manifest destiny. They've been slapping in our face I don't know how long. Because that's the best way to hide something from somebody, just put it out front, put it right in front of their face. But that was another one of those little questions that stuck behind my mind. Who is Columbia? And then when I saw this last presidential, and I'd never seen that before, it said in the name of Columbia. And I found out who Columbia was incidentally. Not accidentally, but incidentally. Looking for something else. And it showed a picture that had been painted. I got to get us a small picture I got off the net that had been painted, this famous artist, and it showed Columbia, this flying angel, white angel, having this torch, bringing the light of civilization, driving darkness, savagery, and bringing civilization. And in the front, the dark part, you could see the native people running with their women, their children, their elders. You could see all the animals running. Everything as manifest destiny. The angel of manifest destiny is Columbia. And then behind her was some light. And of course, train, heralding the industrial age and so forth, and also the land grabbers, the murderers coming in their wake. So let me tell you, that told me right there what their intention still is. The same as yesterday is still the same today. It said in the name of Columbia. That was who he was swearing to. That's the name that he was swearing in the name of Columbia. Manifest destiny, which everybody else is subordinate to who? The white man. She's got a problem. 75% of them, y'all dealing with the pineal gland. 75% of them, I learned some years ago, 75% of them have their pineal glands are calcified. Calcified. practically non-functioning. So you wonder how they can be so cold and callous and cruel and feel like, well, we didn't mean no harm. That's why. All right? Now, moving right along. Who started all of this as far as with television? Well, I found out in here that there was a man by the name of Hal Becker. Hal Becker, by the way, spent 20 years manipulating just the minds of leaders. National leaders, presidents, heads of state, prime ministers. He spent 20 years heading up a team that manipulated the minds of leaders. And after he was successful in that for so long, they wanted to know, how can we dupe the minds of the masses? And Hal Becker made a statement. He said here, I know the secret, and I quote him, I know the secret of making the average American believe anything I want him to. All very adamant about it, because he'd already performed it. They've already demonstrated it. He said here, just let me control television. You put something on television and it becomes reality. If the world outside the TV set contradicts the images, people start trying to change the world to make it like the TV set images. Now check that out. They found out that little secret right there. So whatever we put on TV, he said that the average American don't think. They have feelings and they have opinions. With his brainwashing tool of choice, the television set, he can manipulate all of that. And that's what's going on right now. Television sets the tempo, all right? I'm really afraid of it. As long as I'm watching it, I'm steady talking back to it. My wife said once, you must be losing your mind. You talking back to the television. I said, why not? Because that sucker sure talk to me. You got good sense, you better talk back to it. Because you know, if you don't, you're only being passively receptive to whatever they put on you. And I hear people say, well, it don't bother me. That's just what they want you to think. You see, because they have two types of brainwashing. They have hard brainwashing, and hardcore brainwashing is brainwashing that's very overt. You know, you've watched the television and you've seen the movies where they torture people and they time, and it's very obvious you're fixing to be tortured and beat, and they have cigarettes stuck on you and so forth, and finally you just lose all of your moral strength and you just give up and you whatever they want. As you sit in a zombie-like state, worn out. We've seen this. That's very overt. And we'll try to put up resistance for that as long as we can. As long as we can stand the pain, we'll put up resistance to that. But now they come along and found out that's just too much. We got to find a better and more inconspicuous way to do this. So they came up with what was called soft brainwashing. All right? Now, in the hard brainwashing that I was sharing with you, what happens is that it will cause you to lose all your moral strength. And you know that your moral strength is what orders your reason. That's what makes you reason, is your moral strength on things. All right? But they take that away. Now, what kind of time does it take them to do it? How much time do they need in order to accomplish this? Well, since it's soft and ongoing, they need a lot of time, which is what they're given. Let me share this with you. In 1980, the average 20-year-old had watched the equivalent of 14 months of television in his or her brief lifetime. In 1980, by the time one was 20 years old, they had watched on an average of 14 months continuously of television. That's 14 months 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Somebody else has got your mind. All right? Now, we go down and we find out more recent figures show that the numbers have climbed. The 20-year-old now has spent closer to 2 full years, 24 months, of his or her brief lifetime in front of the television. With that in front of the television, zonked out look. And you notice nobody talks on his own. If you try to say something, hush, 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 hush. You see what I'm saying? Watch a child when they watch television. Lean forward, bottom lip drop, zonked out. Why do you think they were able to put Pokemon on and then knock children out? They went into convulsions and stuff. And you know what? You would think they would have pulled it off the market. I mean, they have sold gobs of them, have people over here fighting in the toy stores and the lines over it. What's with this phenomenon? What's with this madness? It's called brainwashing, soft brainwashing. And thanks to a man named Walt Disney and his brother, and I like to call him Walt Dizzy, creator of Dizzy World, Disneyland, the duck, the mouse, the income tax. Yeah, Walt Disney helped them sell the income tax trick. Had Donald Duck, if any of you saw 60 Minutes the other night, they did what was supposed to be an expose, but it wasn't nothing but whitewash, hogwash. No substance to it at all. Though the people who they were talking about had much substance, it didn't get to you. All right? But anyway, these are some of the players in this whole thing. Now, what we find that Americans are getting progressively more stupid. All right? That's a deep word, stupid. How many of you ever looked up the word stupid? You know, and everybody stupid ain't dumb or uneducated. You got people with degrees just as stupid as they can be. And what is stupidity? Stupidity means they are dull of thinking. They don't think. They just parrot. They don't think. They felt that when they got that degree, as somebody was talking about degrees up here earlier, they got a degree. Always understand that a degree ain't nothing but a hunting license. A degree, nothing but a hunting license. It's like getting a hunting license. How many of you guaranteed a deer or whoever hunts, you know, whatever they hunt, but whether they fish, you know, you're not guaranteed anything by the license. That's just saying that the quote-unquote powers that be will allow you to cast your lot. All right? Don't necessarily mean the license, getting the license didn't tell you how to fish. But it did show you how to go and buy a fish. You know. So this is what it's all about. So it says here that what happens as you watch television, you get progressively more stupid. They know the decline in reading and comprehension levels in all age groups tested. The more television that's watched, if you're wondering why reading is at an all-time low, that's because television is at an all-time high. Somebody said that regular television here, they was complaining they could only get 3 channels, and I said, brother, count your blessings. Because you tap into that light pipe, that open sewer, you get 300, and you get everything out of there. Everything, including roadkills. Everything comes out of there. So children are exposed to everything. Adults are exposed to everything. But the one who it wreaks the most havoc on, and by the way, when we have our conferences and things, we've got to start thinking about bringing our children with us. They've got to hear it too. Maybe this is why they're being cut off. We come, but we don't bring our children, so they never get to hear. I spoke at a family reunion once, and you know, it was nice. It was great. Big family down in Hilton Head, South Carolina. The place, the land of 40 acres and a mule. That's where field order number 15 was issued by Sherman. But anyway, all of the adults were there, and they had the children over playing. I'm talking about children old enough to comprehend what was going on. So I raised the issue. I said, why aren't the children over here? Remember, after all, this is who we passing it on to. All I saw out there was old folks. Ain't going to be long before, you know, we going to go join the ancestors. What are those children going to know? Or are they going to have to start this process all over again? Whew. That's who the powers that be are targeting. So that's got to be our target, our main focus. Not just us, but our children. But anyway, it says here that they noted a decline. The more television was watched, the less reading comprehension skills. And as for writing skills, Americans are in general unable to write more than a few simple sentences. We are among the least literate people on this planet, and we're getting worse. Why? Because of television. It's the change, the constant trend downward, that interests these researchers. More than one study has correlated the increasing stupidity of our population to the amount of television they watch. Stupidity is proportional to the amount of television you watch. And this is a warning for all of us. Because let me tell you, television is just like any other habit. It's hell to get out of. Even among so-called conscious people. It's deep. And it's the habit of it that makes it so dangerous. There are people, they say, well, I got to catch my story. They got you. That's like going burning one. They got you. Well, I don't like but one thing. They don't need but one thing, because let me tell you, I don't care what it is you are watching. The studies show that it makes no difference what people watch, whether it's the Simpson or the McNeil Lehrer Report, or Murphy Brown, or Nightline with Ted Kopp. The more television you watch, the less literate, the more stupider you are. And I found that to be so. And when you're talking about ignorance, it's a dangerous thing. And I very seldom quote these guys, but the so-called white founding fathers of this particular government, Thomas Jefferson said, those people who expect to be ignorant and free are looking for something that never was and never will be. To be ignorant and free. They don't occupy the same space. So something has got to go. All right? Now, just to show you the path that this country is on, I cut out a newspaper article and pasted it right above what I just read. It says here that students suspended for not watching TV. Students suspended from school for not watching TV. I got this from USA Today, October the 19th last year. It says here that 2 Ohio students who say their religious beliefs prohibit them from watching TV were suspended after repeatedly walking out of class. School officials have suggested that the brother and sister look away from the TV instead of leaving the class. Now, TV has 2 elements. It has both an audio and visual. And they had been educated at home enough, I'll say, to know that both of them are dangerous. So they decided to just walk out of the class rather than watch or listen to any of it. So therefore, they were suspended, all right? And the principal said he had no choice but to punish them. Now, if y'all would notice all this crazy stuff that's going on there. Here's one that's been put out, these been put out for not watching TV. And from the studies here tell you that the more they watch, the stupider they are, but that tells us something. Somebody want us to be stupid. All right? So you have stuff like this going on. Then behind this, not only television, but for correcting your children. You can be sent to jail and the children taken away from you. We just had that happen in Atlanta. I know, have everybody followed that? Followed a little of it? The house of prayer. The parents jolted at the church. If this would have been on when I was a pastor, late 70s, early 80s, I would have been in jail. All of my members in my church would have been in jail because we believed in corporal punishment. We used to call them ass whippings a long time ago. Found out that the ass was far enough away from the heart not to hurt them, but close enough to the head to help them. All right? This is ancient wisdom. This has been all the way through time. I read African proverbs. I read proverbs from all kind of people, and they deal with raising children and dealing with foolishness. But now you have an element here now, the powers that be, that tell you, stop that. We don't want that anymore. We want children who are out of control. We want a chaotic situation, because from this type of chaos will come our new order. So you cannot have churches that are teaching people, practices like raising your children, using corporal punishment if you need to. That's why it said wisdom with reproof. The rod with reproof will give wisdom. It gets attention. It opens up those perceptive faculties like eyes and ears. Now you can give them some understanding. But you can't have a chaotic society like that. So now, the owners of these children won't let you as a trustee keep them if they catch you doing that. Now, what did I say? I call them the owners of your children. See, these people here don't know what hit them. I've been trying to get in touch and make phone calls. I got to get in touch with them to tell them what's happening, because my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. I admire their tenacity. I admire their refusing to give up and to back down from the so-called judge. I said so-called because that's the hoodwink they got over us, that they are judges. They are what you call referees. And they are not there to determine but one thing, or two things. Who is the debtor and who's the creditor? And the debtor always lose 100%. Did y'all hear me? The debtor always loses 100% of the time, not 99% of the time, 100% of the time. 100% of the time, the creditor always wins. So if you go in court and you are not a creditor, you can hang it up. And they'll play the game with you. These are some things that we got to know. I was just telling Bobby about it. We were on the phone. I said, man, you ought to hear what I found out. Well, I'm telling you, if you don't want nobody to know it, you better not tell me about it. I'm going to tell it. But this is why I thought this was very important. That's why I mentioned that coming into here dealing with television. Because these people they've lost some children, they still holding them. And did y'all see the brothers that the deputies or the policemen? Black men went in there and snatched them. Snatched them. Now, why did I say black went in and snatched them? Because after all of the snatching that's been done on us, you see, I was a flight engineer. I'm going to tell you what consciousness do for you, what it did for me. I was a flight engineer in the Air Force on heavy jets. That's the way I got around the world, hauling cargo for the government. I'd probably help bring, I don't know how much cocaine in here. You don't know what you're hauling. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what you're hauling. They already got the dogs to keep you back, so they watching it. So you don't know. You know, I don't know what's in there. You don't know. As they say, I'm just doing my job. You know, where does the job cross the line? We got to draw the line somewhere. But anyway, I was looking at these black men running in, the children screaming and going on, and I said, these poor people don't know why that's happening. They said, those are my children. That you're taking my child, I want my child back. Well, technically, we know that is your child. We know that that is your child, that you gave birth to that child. But something happened at the time right after you gave birth that's been dealing with you ever since it happened. And you know what? Coming back to what I originally started talking about, the media, television, help perpetuate the game. Why do you think they got so many judge shows on TV now? Judge Judy, Judge John, Judge Phil, what's his name? Joe Brown. You run out of fingers trying to count them. One after the other, one after the other. And not one site, not one book of law is ever mentioned. Just nothing but opinions handed down, good soap operas, but never any law. And that is to get you to think that what you see is the delivery of justice. That ain't justice, that's just this. And I've taken some time and I've looked at some. I'm not a habitual television watcher, but I got to know what's going on now. What are they saying there? And I make sure I turn it off. Because like anything, it's addictive. And you got to kill it. Because you try to play with it, it'll get you. Oh, I can handle this ain't but a little bit. All right? But anyway, they were there and they are using the media to put this forward. All right? Like it's some real justice going on. And then we will even question the people here, the minister. How many years those people been there? How many children have they helped correct? And you know you're going to always have some that don't like what you're doing. And if they get an opportunity to drop a lie on you, they will drop one in a heartbeat. And they have the powers that be behind them. All right? Why was it they could go in and take their children? And even took a young lady who was of age, 17 years old, took her and her baby. And got people begging for their children back. How can they do this to you? How did they do it if they are your children? Well, they take it that they are not your children. You gave them up. Everybody who's got a birth certificate, everybody who signed a birth certificate for their child, I know you didn't mean no harm. I know you didn't mean to do it, but you were just doing what they told me to do. I thought that, you see, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. This thing has been an albatross, it's been a chain on us ever since the day it was created in 1921. And I was just telling Bobby earlier that I came across this information and was just too heavy not to have this many people in front of me and not tell them. And not only them, I have another newspaper article whereas they took a woman and put her in jail and took the child because she breastfed. Said that was child abuse and child molestation because her child slept in the bed with her and she breastfed. Now my mother would have been in jail too. We didn't have but 2 bedrooms when I was growing up. Her bedroom, and I had 2 brothers, they slept in one, so I slept with my mother up until the time they left home. That's what we had to do. But now that's against the law. What law? It's against the statutes that they made up. And the television helped perpetuate that. Why do you think they got all the cop shows on there? and they show you, they put all kind of violations, human rights and so forth into your face, and people just watch it hypnotically. Well, they shouldn't have done it. What? He should have had his seatbelt on. You see? Why do they want you to have your seatbelt on anyway? Because they love you so much they don't want you to get you thrown through the window. They love you so much. Well, like Tina Turner said, what's love got to do with it? Ain't got nothing to do with it. Let me share this with you. I'll go off on this tangent a little bit, but I'm going to give you food for thought and grounds for further research. The day that you signed a birth certificate, what you did was that you signed a Uniform Commercial Code Form 1 lien. It becomes a warehouse receipt for human goods. All right? Now, they didn't tell you that, and by them not telling you that, that's called they didn't give you full disclosure of the contract, which really was unilateral because there was no meeting of the minds. But the day that you signed that birth certificate, you delivered your child to the state. Why do you think they call it the delivery room? I mean, nobody else ever called birthing a child delivery. Delivery is the legal term. And by the way, the specific form of delivery that is called constructive delivery. That means you don't actually deliver the goods, but you deliver what? The title to the goods. All right? Now, once that birth certificate is signed, sealed with the state seal, and delivered. Ain't that what Stevie Wonder said? Signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. Hey, we got this, my brother Listerville wrote, sharpen our eyes and tune our ear so we know what we see and understand what we hear. Signed, sealed, delivered means it was signed for, the state seal is on it, and there you are delivered to the Department of Commerce. That's where your birth certificate is, not your actual birth document. They give us the certificate. Certificate means that you have evidence that the real thing exists. Like you go on and buy a car, and you say you paid cash money for it, or that car's paid off. I got the title now. This is mine. That's the illusion. The media helps perpetuate that because they don't tell you no different. I got the title. You don't have the title, you have the certificate. If you don't believe it, go pull your drawer open where you keep them papers here, and you have a certificate of title. You see, this certificate represents the title because it cannot be both the thing it represents and the thing itself. Now I want to show you something that happened here. After you sign the birth certificate, it becomes a warehouse receipt for human goods. Now, the hospital, for every one that they turn in to the county, they get $4,000. And there's a value of, in the beginning, it was $625,000 placed on that birth certificate. Now it's gone up to $1 million. So the hospital gets $4,000 for each birth certificate they turn in. And once that birth certificate is made, guess whose name is put in? It's not put in your name. I'm speaking of whoever got a birth certificate. That birth certificate don't have your name on it. It has what is known as your straw man's name on it. What is a straw man? The straw man is a legal fiction. You see, because from now on, what has been established to run the world has been corporations. The 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, which you thought gave you citizenship or gave us citizenship. The 14th Amendment was created, first of all, to make corporations persons that could sue and be sued. Now, do y'all follow me? I'm probably talking about condition of most of us sitting in here right now. When I heard it talked about the light bills and the gas bills were like house notes for the last 2 months. I know mine was $500 and some dollars. I was copping a plea. You know what I'm saying? Calling in, saying how much. Of course, we don't care what they do with it now. It ain't cold no more. But you got to have some lights. Watch the electricity do the same thing now, just like it did in California. What you mean you running out of electricity? See how they use the media to keep that propaganda going, so we watch the 6 o'clock the 6 o'clock news to find out what's going on, and what they tell you on there is what ain't going on. All right? So these are the things that's going on. Let me finish telling you about that birth certificate. The hospital gets $4,000. They assign a value. The Commerce Department assigns a value of $1 million to it, because that's how much they figure you will make on an average between 18 and age 65. All right? Now, when they made this birth certificate, all right, you have a right to get all this back. But let me get to this part. When they made this birth certificate, they didn't put your name up there. All right? The name that my mother gave me was Curtis. Otim is my assumed name. Yeah, right here. Thank you. All right? Okay, the name that I was given was Curtis. Means courteous one. Curtis Leon Stewart. Leon means lion, Stewart means servant. So I'm a courteous but bold servant. Otim Larib means one who brings his people together, born outside of his village. That tells a story, don't it? Everybody ought to know, you ought to know your name like that. All right? Because your name represents your nature. Whatever somebody calls you, that's what you're supposed to react to. You're supposed to act that nature out. Somebody says courteous, then that reminds me I'm to be a courteous person. All right? But bold. Now, when they got your birth certificate, I spell my name now. I was taught to spell my name because we went to school and we learned English, right? Or American. They don't speak English here. Over in England, I went to a hotel and they had over the top English spoken, American understood. That's why I said that. And they don't realize that. Because I'll tell, white people have it bad by telling you that if you have any type of accent, like our accent, we don't use THs too good. This and that, we had this and that. And it's because it's the way it works out. All right? Even for the Frenchman, too, he says this and that. We just say this and that, all right? But when we have to put it on, we can put it on, all right? We can do it if we want to. Most of the time, we just don't want to. Thank you. But anyway, here's what I was taught. Best teacher I had, I won't say the best one, but the most memorable one was my second grade teacher, Miss Pansy Rucker, all right? Very proper lady, taught you that English. And taught me to write my name, C-U-R-T-I-S, L for Leon, and Stewart. All right? You see that? Isn't that the way you were taught to write your name? Whatever your name was, and even today, if we change it, we still write it. In English, it's written what? Uppercase, lowercase. The only things that's written capital letters are your initial letters. That's why they're called initials. Because they're the initial letter. They're the beginning letter of each name. All right? Now, but when they made up your warehouse receipt, called a birth certificate, they wrote it like this. All right? All right? On your light bill, on your gas bill, on your water bill, and on all other kind of bills. You see, because they can't deal with the real person because they themselves are artificial. So the artificial cannot have intercourse with the real. Right? I mean, like sexual intercourse even. I mean, you can't have sex with something that don't exist. You can't have that contact with something that don't exist. In business intercourse, you can't have intercourse with one exists and the other one don't. I couldn't help but tell y'all about this today because I even heard him talk about the Wizard of Oz in here. That is the heaviest movie out. That has been the heaviest movie in the last 40 years, and it's older than that. I'm just telling you back when I started watching it. All right? But it was always fascinating. So now, here you have two entities. You have you, uppercase, lowercase, so forth, and then you have what is known as your straw man, or the what? Scarecrow, who doesn't what? Have a brain. He can't think. He can't reason. He has no arguments. Since he cannot talk, that's why he must be represented by what? An attorney. And an attorney's job basically is to transfer wealth from one creditor or from a debtor to a creditor and make the debtor feel good about it. Why do you think you can't say nothing when you go into court? You got you an attorney. Oh, got me a good one. You go in there, he stands there next to you, and next thing it says, bip, bop, bam, it's over. And you wonder, what happened? Well, why didn't you say something? I mean, I thought you could. Number one, his first obligation is to the court, and his second obligation is to you. And what attorneys do since the making of the 14th Amendment is to represent corporations. That's all attorneys represent is corporations. This represents a corporation. That's why you can't speak for yourself. That's why the judge tells you, well, I think, Mr. Johns, you need an attorney. Well, I'm standing for myself. You're going to get out of my courtroom. But if you go in with an attorney, they treat you different. But when you go in with the attorney, you can't say anything because remember, you are not there. That's why you can't say nothing. You're not there. Your straw person is there. The scarecrow is there, not you. You are sitting there on his behalf. I don't care what they do to him. I don't care what charge they put on him. You know what? You always go in there and write your name on there and take up for him. That's like every time somebody get in jail, they can just call you to come sign their bond. You'll put your house up even. I don't care who it is, what they did, I'll sign for it. Same way with the straw man, all right? Now, when you go to the Wizard of Oz, now we jumping off in TV now. Boy, I tell you, you can tell I was a preacher, I can adapt everything, man. But we go into the Wizard of Oz, and you got these characters. You got Dorothy, who got caught up in a whirlwind. Whirlwind symbolizes what? Confusion. You know, people say, oh man, I'm in a whirlwind around here. I don't know what to do. That means you caught up in a whirl of confusion. This world of confusion came about after something happened. In 1933, the country went bankrupt. And you know what? It's still bankrupt now. And how many of you have been in bankruptcy? I have. I found out why I suffer. But I don't want to ruin my credit. Well, that's what got me into trouble in the first place. Maybe I need to learn how to do without it. So I've been through the bankrupt thing, and when I went in there, I ain't hardly see no black people. I said, this must be the ticket. I said, now this must be the ticket. I saw plenty of black folks at blockbusters. I seen plenty of them at the telephone line, paying telephone bills. I just wondered, I said, no, white people don't pay telephone bills. Or they don't go to blockbusters. I guess they mail order everything. But anyway, I saw that, and I said, this must be the ticket. Let me see what's going on. Had one man in there, I learned he and his wife got a whole new house full of stuff every 6 years and went bankrupt. Didn't pay nothing. They come in there, man, that pressure get on you. Went in there and dropped that chapter 13. I mean, looked like the whole world lifted. I said, boy, why do we suffer? Because we don't know. All right? And I'm not telling anybody to go bankrupt and nothing like that. But I had some things going on, and I went up to 10 days before foreclosure because, see, everything I deal with, I test. But I don't, you know, they can say it's a fool that would test the depths of the water with both feet. So that's why I had to do that. I tested it with both feet, and I found it was over my head. So I got it together now. I didn't quit. I just got stronger. Like they say, everything that don't kill you will make you stronger. All right? But back to where we were, all right? $4,000 for the birth certificate. You got two separate entities here. Back at all, she got caught up in a whirlwind, landed in from Kansas, which is the heart of America, all right? And the heart of Americans, they pride themselves at one time on sovereignty, land of the free and the home of the brave. Now it's the land of the free and the home of the slave. Like I said, Dick Gregory said, when they wake up, I told you earlier, and find out who the real niggas are, that's when the stuff gonna hit the fan. And I thought I would never see the day that I would see a book that would come out talking about freedom and redemption, such as redemption in law, with a white man standing with chains around his cuff, broken chains, and standing in the light of the sun. Remember, that's what one of the three things Dracula wanted to do, be able to go out into the sun again. You see, but he can't do it. But anyway, some good stuff here. But this is called Redemption in Law. I'm going to give you the information on it here in just a second. All the information you need, because I want you to check that out. Okay? Now, they came up with this, Dorothy and them, she came, and the little people, she killed the witch. House fell on the witch, and everybody remember how the witch toes curled up, and Dorothy wound up with the shoes on. I've been watching this thing for 40 years. I know the whole script, but I didn't know what I was looking at. All right? But I knew it was something deep in here somewhere, and it began to break open. So anyway, she got the slippers now. I found out in the story in the very beginning, these slippers were not ruby slippers, but they were silver slippers. So what we have playing in here is both silver and gold. Am I right? Because once she asked the little people, to make a long story short, how they told her, said, well, what you really need to do is go see the wizard. So if you're not in Kansas, then you need to go see the wizard. He can tell you how to get home and everything. Said, well, where is the wizard at? So what you have to do is follow the yellow brick road. All right? Follow the yellow brick road. All right? Now, what are yellow bricks? Gold. Gold is sold as yellow bricks, bullion. All right? Yellow brick road. It could also be R-O-A-D-S or R-H-O-D-E-S, and you still be dealing with gold. Whether it's a gold, whether it's a road like a street in the physical sense, or Cecil roads. Oh. All right? Because remember, they set this up. Remember, I started off talking about television, said how the British do this to you. That's where the Rhodes Scholarship comes from, right over there. All right? So, but they said, we'll just deal with the street, but I just gave you that for thought. Said, follow the yellow brick road. Whatever you do, stay on the yellow brick road. Follow the gold. Follow the money. I didn't say follow the paper now. I said follow the money. All right? And they themselves said that nothing but gold and silver would be used in payment of debts. All right? You either pay a debt with money or you discharge it with paper. And when you discharging it, you ain't using your own paper, you're using somebody else's paper. You are using their private instruments. All right? Now, I'm going to show you what all this has got to do with this right here, and you and me and birth certificate and warehouse receipts for human goods. All right? This is why if you work somewhere, you'll find that the personnel office, in former days it was called a personnel office. What is it called today? Human resources. You like oil and gold and, you know what I'm saying? And timber, and you happen to be human resources. That's why they assign a value to you, and they attach what? That lien and birth certificate, and also somebody else said social security number. But you know something more important than a social security number to them is the birth certificate. Matter of fact, when you start researching this and taking action according to it, once it's been presented to your what? Perceptive faculties, and you act upon it, you're going to find out and see. All right? So here's these two people. So what happens is you becomes tied to this guy because what? His name is what's called item sonum, or it sounds like yours. Curtis Stewart sounds like Curtis Stewart, don't it? But upon close examination, it's not the same. But because we started it at an early age, our parents didn't know this trick. Let me tell you, this is diabolical. This is diabolical. I don't care how spiritual we get, we've got to be able to take this spirituality and apply it to life here on earth and make heaven on earth while we're here. Because if we don't know these things, I don't care what else we know, life will be hell. If you don't believe it, let the power truck pull up, and the man got the thing in his hand to cut your gas off of you, lights off of you. You go to pick up the phone and that's off and you can't communicate. It's frustrating as hell. And why is it we don't have what we need to take care of it when we need to take care of it? Because 9 times out of 10, most of us have been robbed throughout the year. I mean, even as well as some of you budget, as good as some of you take care of your business, you still wind up behind the proverbial 8 ball. Right? What is it that keeps us in this dilemma? Remember, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. So we're learning something we need to know here right now. So here these real flesh and blood. And remember on the yellow brick road, the first one that Dorothy came across was who? Scarecrow. Y'all come on with it. You don't have to be scared. We all done watched it. The Scarecrow, or the straw man. And where was he at? In proximity to the street. He was at the crossroads. Oh, look at here. I know y'all ready. He was at the crossroads. This is the domain of Legba. All right? Make up your mind, the test of the time. What you gonna do? So she said, excuse me, can you tell me how, I wonder which way do I go to the odds? Because at the crossroads she was confused. So the straw man said, some people go that way. Did you say something? Some people go that way. Some folks go that way. Confusion. All right? And what are we told? Biblically, God is not the author of confusion. So I know then we got a devil on our hand, so to speak. All right? Y'all bear with me now. I'm speaking elementary. Y'all done been up in this metaphysical stuff way up here in the ethers now, and I'm trying to pull you back down to earth. We got to know them both. As above, so below. If the ceiling too high, measure the flow. Okay? Now here we go. We got this. Met the Scarecrow. She said, how can you talk? No, she said, why don't you make up your mind? He said, I can't. I don't have one. I can't. I don't have one. She said, well, how can you talk if you don't have a mind? He said, oh, it's a whole lot of people, awful lot of people doing a lot of talking that ain't got a mind. Am I right? I ain't doing nothing but recalling the movie. I ain't got nothing new for y'all tonight. This old stuff. We just never did catch on. We got so caught up in the entertainment, we didn't get the inner attainment. And let me tell you, there's nothing that the devil does that he don't tell you. He put it right in front of your face. Hey, check this out. But he makes it nice. He makes it acceptable. He makes it palatable. See, one of the most courteous, kind, nice people you ever run into is the devil. And of course, he's one of them. But he has his hour when he gonna jump time on you, but not bringing you in. All right? This is the God and the devil thing. You know, we understand this. See, we got to create some characters. Hey, I'm doing exactly what they did. In order to facilitate transmitting my message to you, I've got to have what? Some characters. Even though they are figments of my imagination, I need them for the purpose of what? Transferring or conveying this message to you. And you know what? That's what this particular character here is called, a transmitting utility. All right? And it's created separately from you on the day that you were born or you were given birth to. It was born. And guess where it was born? It was born in the United States. Because the United States is a corporation. It exists only on paper. Now, I didn't say the United States of America. Of America. The United States of America means it's the United States in a landed territory referred to as America. But when it just says the United States, the U.S., it's not talking about all of America. It's talking about a corporation that exists on paper and carries out its daily business in a district of Columbia. And don't forget who Columbia was now. Are you putting the picture together now? You're pulling it together to see what's happening. All right? So this became what is called a transmitting utility. So every time a corporation does business with you, they have to come to you in this corporate straw man. And we are under the illusion. You remember Malcolm say you've been tricked, you've been took, you've been had, you've been hoodwinked. Bamboozled, that's it. Well, look up those words, y'all. If you never have, look them up. Bamboozled is a legitimate word. All right? Just like discombobulated. I thought for the longest that was a, whipped up word. It's in the dictionary. But yeah, discombobulated. Discombobulated. I guess I'm doing it right. But anyway, here you have your utility, the straw man. All right, he doesn't have a brain. He cannot talk. He cannot act. Can't do none of that. So, since the corporations, including the courts, whether they are federal courts or whether they are state courts, they can deal with you in no other way. This is the only one they can deal with. Are y'all following me? This straw man is the only one that they can deal with. And remember, because he cannot talk, somebody have to talk for him. Now this person here, this is flesh and blood. I can talk. Straw man can't talk. So guess what? Somebody's got to talk for him. And it has to be an attorney. That's all attorneys talk for, is corporations. Because they only exist on paper. Now, what does this have to do with me? How do I get, if a summons comes, and if you ever gotten a court summons, or anything dealing with the courts, you always see it's in all capital letters. Always in all capital letters. Now, Since you are the one, they couldn't have brought this straw man into existence without you. You have a right to secure, all right, to perfect what is known as security on this. You can be the holder in due course. Now I'm speaking legally here, but you'll catch on. You'll be the holder in due course. And I'm making this very brief because it's deep. But it ain't so deep that you cannot fathom it and use it and apply it to know freedom in your lifetime. So here you have, they go and they will always come to you in this name. Now, you had Dorothy met the Scarecrow. He said a lot of people do a lot of talking and they ain't got a brain. Then they went on down the street following the yellow brick road. Who next do they come in contact with? The Tin Man. Tin Man, what are the characteristics of that Tin Man? He don't have a heart. So that means to tell me that this cat's cold-blooded. When you speak of somebody being heartless, that means that they no heart, without any conscience, without any feeling. Just like the metal that he was made out of, tin. All right? Cold, metal, all right? And what else did he have? He always carried what? An axe. All right? Hey, you're right. See, we conjured it up here tonight. All right? So he had an axe. What is the axe a symbol of? All right? There you go. Fascist. Fascism. Now, fascism, or as the axe is called, an axe with a bundle of sticks wrapped around it. We used to see them on the back of Mercury dimes. You remember the dimes, the old Mercury dimes when they were really silver? And you flip over the back, you had Mercury on the one side with the wings on his head, and then you had on the other side this axe, and it had this bundle of sticks around it. Well, this is what you call a fasci. Now, where's another place that we see that? Television show it to you if you watch C-SPAN. Right behind the Speaker of the House. In Congress, you have one on this side, and you have one on that side. An axe with a bundle of sticks around there, and they are called fasci. And they are the symbol of what? Fascism. Now, what is fascism? What? Pardon? Corporatist, right. One of the most famous fascists you know of was Mussolini. All right? People think he was fascist because he was mean. No, it helped, but that wasn't why. It was because the corporations, the state had taken over all of the corporations, or rather the corporations had taken over the state, and they was telling how things should be run. All right? This is what happened in this country to everybody up to this day, this very present time. All right? They went down, they found a Tin Man. All right? What else does tin represent? T-I-N. This is April the 15th. Tax ID number. Tax identification number, 10. Tin Man. And who's the one that's running this whole tax thing? The Tin Man. The fascists. Carrying the axe. Heartless. They don't care. You ain't pay them taxes? You know who they talking to? This right here. But we keep answering for them. So, well, you ain't pay your tax, we're going to take you out, but I got wife and children. They don't give a damn. So they set you out, the wife, the children, dog, everything, and come scoop up everything. Because they say you didn't pay your taxes. Well, what are you paying taxes for? They got a lot of things going on right now. Oh, you ain't supposed to pay taxes. You ain't supposed, oh, I was in it too. I've been in it all. Don't think, like I told you, I've been in the water. But I keep trying because I know somewhere out there I'm going to hit it. I'm going to find it. I'm going to see what it is, you know. It said that the truth would make you free. So I said, I'm going to know the truth. I don't care where I have to go, through hell or high water, I am going to find it because I want to know freedom in my lifetime. Okay? So now we got Dorothy and the Tin Man and the one that don't have no brain. One don't have a heart, one don't have a brain. And you know that's two things that you need to be human. You need heart and mind. Need three things, but heart and mind. We always talk about balancing our heart with our mind, balancing our feelings with our knowledge and wisdom. And we don't want them to be off balance. That's what ma'at is all about. Balance. You're not going to eliminate unrighteousness. The best you can do is bring it into balance, because you got to have it in order to know what righteousness is. You can't have black without white, because if it was no white, it wouldn't be no black. You know, these are comparative things. So we've got to seek not eradication, but to bring things into balance. That's why ma'at carried the balances we call scales, but they're really balances. Scales operate by spring. Balances operate by gravity. Okay? So here we come. They've gotten, now they come and pick up the lion. He comes out, and what does lions represent naturally speaking? What have they become symbols of? Power. All right, courage. Hey, all we got to do is, you saw that movie, didn't you? Courage. All right? That's boldness. That's why I tell you my name, Leon. It's Spanish for lion. Well, lion symbolizes boldness. All right? So here he was supposed to be bold, but he had lost his courage. Now, what is fear rooted in? Fear is rooted in ignorance. We fear what we don't know. The unknown is what we call darkness. So therefore, everywhere we go, and we know it's going to be dark, we're going to take a light. That's why it said, let the word be a lamp to your feet and a light to your path. This is the thing that got Aladdin over. Remember Aladdin's lamp? That's another story. Ooh, I love stories. Aladdin, all right? Shaquille O'Neal was in one called Shazam, and he was about a genie trapped in a boom box. I told you they throwing some stuff on us, y'all. Done through the media, that's what we talking about, right? The media. But I got to show you the stuff they got in there. All right? So there was Shaquille O'Neal, big old, viral, black, strong-looking brother. Just bring fear on him, walking up on him. Oh, and look who he was led by. A little bitty white boy who asked him, say, well, if you're so powerful, why don't you set yourself free? And Shaquille answered, oh, we can't make ourselves free. Only the jinn can do that. Do you know the power of that statement on a child, a black child watching, what that's going to put in his subconscious mind? Yep. To see this big black man, and black is still beautiful, to see this big black brother who's been slam dunking, breaking backboards and everything, but he can't work his way out the radio. And the only one can let him out of that is the little white boy. You see? Now, when you're a little child, you're watching this, and you know most people gonna buy that movie for their child because they think it's for children. All right, and they do make it for children. Matter of fact, hold that point right there. I'm going to show you just how much they make it for children. I'm integrating all this stuff, y'all. All right? I'm going to show you just how they make this for children. This is from John Rawlins Rees. I'm sorry, talking about John Rawlins Rees. All right? John Rawlins Rees said that, he said here that people who would not use their intelligence have no better rights than dumb animals who have no intelligence at all. He went on to say the same are beasts of burden and steaks on the table by choice and consent. This is the way they feel about you now, or feel about us. All right? So if you don't use your intelligence, you have no better rights than dumb animals. Now, when I told you about how young, they use this on the young, they went on to say here that the young must be kept ignorant of mathematics and the proper teaching of economics and history must never be made available. These are your powerhouses. To know what happened in the past in order so that you can know where you are now and what kind of course you've got to chart for the future. And I know from a flyer, if you don't know your present position, you can't go nowhere. Yeah, you can. You can wander, but you can never travel. Just the difference between the two. A lot of people say they traveling, they wandering. So wandering ain't got to know where they're going. Like they say, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. But a traveler knows where he's starting from and his destination. Regardless of what course he's blown off of, he know how to get back. I know that as a flyer, and I was able to apply that knowledge. You know, you see what I'm saying? That practical knowledge or that operative knowledge to the speculative. All right? So you got to know that history. History is very important. And in the event that some thought that history wasn't important because we made some remarks about ASCAC, that's not so. We're just saying they got to go further than that. All right? But to not know history is to forever remain a child. So it said here that those must not be taught. Now these are directives coming from the Tavistock Institute. All right? How young? It said, must be never made available. Keep all groups so occupied with an endless round of issues and problems. Keep them all confused. Keep them caught up in what? The whirlwind. He said about problems, endless round of issues and problems, that they have no time to think clearly. Always cloudy, muddy thinking. Why? If you look and see what their time is put in between soap operas, Judge Judy, Ripley's, and you name it, football games, basketball games. I mean, young man, 22 years old, friend of my daughter's, fiance, they were supposed to get married. She just graduated from Tuskegee, got shot over a card game the other night. Shot him in the head. Foolishness. Stupidity. Why? Because that's where all of the energy is siphoned off. Everything is game and everything is competitive. Everything is about trying to dominate something else. That's where the name Nike came from. On the shoes. Nike is the Greek god of dominance. And we see Nikes on black folks from babies crawling to our elders walking on 3 legs. And that symbol on there, what is it? Like a swoosh, that's what they told you it was. That's what it is, as they say in law, prima facie. But upon further examination, that is not a swoosh. That is called in Hebrew a vav. And it has a numerical designation of 6. It has a numerical designation of 6. And I tell you, somewhere else you'll find this particular symbol. See, that it don't make no difference which way it's turned. Just like a 6 and a 9 is the same number, they just turn different. So it makes no difference which way it's turned. This is still a vav, and the vav in Hebrew has a numerical designation of 6. The other place you'll find it is on Newport cigarettes. Newport. Why Newport? Well, I kept on looking and looking and looking. And found out through my activity and involvement in reparations issue that Newport, Rhode Island is called the Jewish slave trading capital of the world. That's where the notorious Aaron or Duarte Lopez, who later changed his name when he got here to Aaron Lopez. Aaron Lopez owned over 300 slave ships. Yes, he was Jewish. He wished he was a Jew. All right? Oh, yeah, by the way, Newport, Rhode Island is in the north for all of those people who got hang-ups about the South. And as Malcolm said, anytime you below the Canadian border, you in the South. That's why we followed the drinking gourd, because it eventually led you to Canada. All right? So there you have it for John Rollin Reese. He said, let me say what keep the group so they don't have time to think clearly. And here, we rely on entertainment, which should not reach beyond the mental capacity of a child in the 6th grade. So when I go down to the the juvenile place, I work with youth a lot. I have youth and I work with youth. So when I go down there and I see children with handcuffs on whose arms are so small, they put it in the last tooth and they fall off. I've seen that. Why? Because somebody is working some craft here on this television that they have designed to reach as low as a child in the 6th grade. This is what's going on now. This is what television is all about. The Wild, you see Newport cigarettes and Nike. Ooh, Nike's a big slaver. They make the shoes over in Vietnam. Remember they went in and bombed it and got rid of all the gooks and the North Vietnamese and all the other names that they labels they laid on them. And now they're there back to help them industrialize. So we can help us industrialize. Of course, it's all on the McNeil-Lehrer report and tonight's business report. All right? They took and built factories over there to give people jobs. And they good for giving you a job. Remember, during slavery, it was full employment. Everybody had a job. So when they talk about the Humphrey Hawkins bill and full employment, beware. The only time you have full employment is during slavery. Everybody's got a job. Okay? That's just a little side thought. Y'all got that? Y'all go check up on that to see if I'm lying or not. All right? But we come back to here. Let me go back to the yellow brick road. We got the line. I started off with telling you how that fear is rooted in ignorance. We fear what we don't know. I told you about Kazam, who got caught in the radio. He's about a genie trapped in a boombox. Now, what was it about a genie before? Where did that story come from? It came from a story older than that called what? Aladdin's lamp, right? Aladdin had a magic lamp, all right? And he'd rub that lamp, and then, all right? Another story off of that is I Dream of Genie. That's where it came from, all right? But Aladdin's lamp, he rubbed it, and the genie came out and said what? Your wish is what? My command. Whatever you command me, then that's what I'll do. And ain't that some power? To have a genie, whatever you ask him to do, he'll do it. Well, we know it wasn't no such thing as that. So what was the story talking about? That lamp was activated. You don't literally activate a lamp by rubbing it, but you activate it by doing what to it? Lighting it. Because it's got oil in it. And you light it. When do you light a lamp? When it's dark. You light the lamp of knowledge when you're in the darkness of ignorance. That's why it said the word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Any word of truth is that. So to activate the lamp, you had to rub it. You had to light it, literally. And guess what? A genie did come out of it. because you lit that lamp at night so you could read, so you could study, to show yourself approved. And what comes from study is knowledge and wisdom. Once you are intelligent, you have raised your conscious level, there is nothing that the world should keep from you. Y'all hear me? That's why I say if we got what we really say we got, then we need to be doing much more than what we're doing. Everybody all right? All right, all right. Okay. That's why I said we got to have that. So that genie is talking about not the man that comes out the lamp, but that is the root word for what? Genius. From the lamp comes a genius. And we call lighting that lamp burning the midnight. Oh, there you go. Now you see why it's on all the diplomas and all the little keys we used to get when we graduate. That little lamp would always, anything dealing with knowledge and academics, that little lamp will always be there. That's Aladdin's lamp. And that genie that comes out is the genius that's developed from study. We're all growing to be geniuses here this evening because we have given ourselves to study and to know. And you shall know the truth, and it would make you free. This is liberating stuff here. I want knowledge to be liberating to me. Tell me something I can use. Okay? So now, Dorothy and the Lion and the Oz, everybody's going to get what they're going to get from the great Oz. And by the way, he's the wizard of what? Oz. How do you spell Oz? O-Z. What is a O-Z? All right now. Talk to me. But we talking about gold here now. Well, that's all right too, huh? You know what? I hope one day I can really drop the real story of cannabis on you all. Because that's what I was alluding to. All right? Cannabis, hemp. Commonly called marijuana. All right? You need to know that story. That's another way that the wizard uses to lock you up and take your possession. And whenever he does, he still can't talk to nobody but the straw man. But you keep signing for him. All right? So, he's the Wizard of Oz, and O-Z is the abbreviation for ounce. In Italian, it's onzi. Look in your dictionary in the etymology of the word. Onzi is Italian for ounce, so it's abbreviated O-Z. Just like you have the abbreviation for pound is what? L-B, and it means what? Libra. Libra. LB for Libra, because Libra has the what in her hand? Oh, back to that balance. Look for your signs. Sharpen them eyes and tune them ears so you know what you see and you understand what you hear. It's right in front of your face. All right? So they headed on up to go see the Wizard of Oz. And where does the wizard live? In the Emerald City. What color is emerald? Oh, we're getting down to it. All right? Emeralds is green, and gold is gold, or yellow. All right? So you got two things now alluded to here. Now, three things. I told you in the beginning, the slippers were silver. When the story was written in 1900, Frank Baum wrote it. All right? They were silver. We talking about silver and gold. And when we talk about green, what are we talking about? We talking about paper. See how the brainwashing over the years, I'm talking about me included. All right? The brainwashing over the years, they started us to calling this money. Now, when we use silver and gold, and I have some silver dollars, a young boy growing up in Texas at a store, we used to call them bow dollars. You ever heard of bow dollar? Yeah, we call them bow dollars. They were silver dollars, and they were just as common as a penny, a nickel, or a dime. We took them for granted. But then in 1963, 64, the first act that Lyndon Johnson did when he got into office was to outlaw silver and gold, take the U.S. off the silver standard. Why? Because Kennedy was finna put them back on it. And if he would have done that, then he would have stuck the bankers like Andrew Jackson did. All right? Andrew Jackson was a slaveholder. He was an enemy of mine. But I still have to study the enemy minds too, to see, you know what I'm saying? So he got rid of the first bankers. They tried to kill him twice, attempted assassination on him. All of the assassinated presidents was messing with the bankers. Read your history. I found out every one of them was messing with the bankers. And the bankers are private entities. The Federal Reserve System in the United States is operated by 12 of the most powerful private families in the country. They are no better than you and I. Matter of fact, we are much farther ahead of them as far as humanity is concerned. But as far as possessions and power, they have that, all right? But when we start to rise, to know what we know, what happens to the balances? They start balancing out, right? Our conscious level is rising, and their arrogance is coming down. Their power is diminishing as ours increase until we finally got some balance on this thing. All right? So here we come down the yellow brick road again. They've gotten to the Emerald City, and we've deduced that Emerald City, emeralds are green. So when they got there, they knocked on the door. And believe it or not, we all know by now, after watching it for 40 years, that it was the wizard that came to the door in one of his disguises. He came and he looked out and he said, who rang that bell? He said, we did. He said, what are you here for? We want to see the wizard. The wizard? You can't see the wizard. Not no way, not no how. Boy, and she started copping this plea and said, well, I done come here from Kansas. I'm lost. I got to get back home. And, the line got to do this and that. And the 10 man is scared. And he started crying. He said, oh, come on in then. And sometimes you think he's breaking and getting you what you're asking for. So they said, well, you can't see the wizard like that. You got to get it all cleaned up. And they even saw the horse of a different color when they got to Emerald City. And they started daydreaming and tripping about what they was going to do once they got what they wanted. The lion was singing if he was king of the forest, and all of that. They was carrying on all this showboating and playing out here. All right? And finally they said, okay, you come on see the wizard now. They opened the big door, went in, and what do we get? Smoke and fire jumping up and imagery being projected. That they didn't know what was happening. They didn't know what made it work. And they thought that was a great Oz. And then they say, you come here to ask me. And everybody was scared. And what did I say fear was rooted in? Ignorance. They didn't know who he was. So he said, well, I tell you what you do. You go bring me the Wicked Witch of the West broomstick. Wicked Witch of the West, www. All right? So he said, you go bring me the Wicked Witch of the West, bring me her, and matter of fact, what did she want from Dorothy in the first place when she first come up in a what? Ball of smoke. Wanted them slippers, which means that she wore what? She wore black. Who else wear black? Judges. The preachers wear all black. Found out that black, help me out here, is the color for Saturn, right? That power. It's the color power. So that's what they want. That's why they wear robes, the black robes. I didn't say the black robes were bad, but I'm just telling you how to identify them in that position. Now, so they want the power. When you go to see them, what do they want? They want your silver slippers. What the slippers represent your feet, what you stand on. They want to destroy your very foundation. But it was something about them she couldn't get on to them. So she had to go, but now they had to go and get the Wicked Witch's broom. Always want you to do something impossible. But when you want to be free bad enough, you'll brave everything. So they took their trip and they went to the witch's castle, all right? And the first one, she already had her surveillance out. Just like they got now. They got all their cameras and stuff. The witch had her. She looked in the crystal ball and said, oh, look at them down there. And then the monkeys was up there. The monkeys represent the policemen. That's who she's sitting on them. They don't do no thinking, do they? They don't do no, they come on you like a pit bull. Well, officer, I don't care. You shouldn't have done it. You should have had it on. And then don't get out the car fast enough, they'll jerk you out of there and put their knee in your back. Beat you like Rodney King. You know what I'm saying? They don't think. And then they're justified by saying, I'm just doing my job. As I said earlier, when do we draw the line between job and your duty to your fellow man, brother or sister or something? There's got to be some thinking in there. But that's out, just like it is with the monkeys. What did she say when she saw them? Go get them, you fools. Now they working for her. She hired them. But she said, go get them, you what? Fools. So she's telling them and speaking even to them out here today that's working for the witch, you're a bunch of fools. All right? So they come out, and boy, they fly. They on patrol, and they come down, boom. Got Dorothy and took her and pulled Toto away. Now, everybody know what Toto means in Latin? Everything. So when Elvira Gutch, who turned out later to be the Wicked Witch, she said, Toto gonna have to go. What she was saying as owning half the county, and remember what Auntie M said, well, Elvira Gutch, just cause you own half the county, own half the county, the government, don't mean you can go pushing people around like this. So I would tell you what I think of you, but being a Christian, I ain't gonna do it. Ain't that something as a man thinking his heart? So is he. Being a Christian, I won't tell you. But anyway, they give us contradictions. But jumping back up to the castle, they got Dorothy, they gone. All right? They up in there, and so she gives her so much time to live, right? Turn that hourglass over. In other words, her 20 or 30-day clock done start ticking. You got 30 days to take care of this, and if you don't, you're going to be dead. You won't have anything. Isn't that what the presentiments that you get tell you all the time? All right, you got 30 days or 20 days or 10 days. All right, a notice. Well, that's the witch in the black, who is the judge, turn it over and give you some time. That run out, that's it. So now she's upset and everybody's down there trying to get to her. The lion said, talk me out of it. I go, but I'm scared. Then they come down and got the 10 man. They putting him together so that's you all over. They really knocked the stuffings out of you. All right? And don't tell me it ain't the straw man that get the stuffings knocked out of him, but it's us that get the stuffings knocked out of us from signing for him for everything. So it's a way that you get out of signing for him for everything. Okay, then they go, make a long story short, everybody know what happened, they get the broom. All right? Because she tried to give the scarecrow some fire. So how about a little fire, scarecrow? And see, the straw man can't stand fire. The fire of truth, the fire of light, the straw man can't handle that. And when they got the broom, the end of it was burnt off. After they threw some water on her, what is water a symbol of? Life. Kills death. Life, death. You're civilly dead under this name. You have life, flesh and blood. That's why everybody who signed as flesh and blood use red ink. I was doing some business with the county and the lady went ballistic. I had my own ink pen. She said, is that black? Is that black? Make sure it's black now. You got to be, you know the little window there and you got to talk under the window. It's got to be black. And I looked and I said, why? I said, excuse me, miss. I said, do you know why that have to be black? She said, I don't know. Why? Okay? I'll say that one. But anyway, this is living, that's dead. Got the broom, the wicked witch is dead. Going back to see the wizard, just know I'm finna go home now. Everybody gonna get what they want. But on their way back to confront the wizard about the promise that he had made, whether it was to get them a heart, get them a brain, get her back home, or give them 40 acres and a mule. It's always some obstacle put in the way of it. Always some reason why you can't. Now, to slow down their progress on the way back to the wizard, what did it start doing? They ran into a big poppy field and did what? Put them to sleep. Everybody know that the word narcotic comes from the combining form Latin narco. Narco means what? To sleep. That's why you've heard of narcolepsy, sleeping disease, narcosis. All this comes from that word that makes up also narcotics. From the poppy, that's why they were poppy fields. Now guess what George Bush's nickname is? Everybody calls him Poppy. Ooh, wicked. All right? So now here we come in this poppy field. Who all went to sleep? No, they didn't. Only Dorothy and the lion went to sleep. Why? Because remember, the scarecrow and the Tin Man were what? Artificial beings. Like this artificial creation here, that all capital letters name. The drugs, the poppies didn't affect them. The narcotics didn't affect them because they don't really exist. But the lion and Dorothy existed. They were warm-blooded creatures. Might have been the conquering lion of Judah. That's what I've looked at, got caught in that. Now that they were sleeping, the straw man and the Tin Man was worried, oh, what we going to do? He started crying and he rushed it. Then all of a sudden, the good witch came up and it started doing what? Snoring. And they jumped up and started, what is that? That's cocaine. They call it snoring. What does it do? Does it put you to sleep? No, it won't let you sleep. What do they call it? Being geeked. Geeked up, everybody's jumping. We're going to see the wizard. Just a minute before they was in the poppy field, they went to sleep. Then they got in the snow and they woke up. Now, if that ain't opiates and cocaine, I don't know what it is. They know what they're doing. Who controls those commodities, those drug commodities? The bankers control it because they control the cash flow. And what is it? What do you find banks at? On each side of the river. And what do the banks do? They control the flow, the current, or the currency. Ooh, boy, don't that, check that out. Kept in check by the banks. All right? Now, here we have, everybody's geeked up now and going back to the wizard. They got back to the wizard with the broom. They told him to come back tomorrow. They said, no, we ain't having this. So make a long story short, they opened the door and went on in. What do we have? Smoke and mirrors again. They still in the dark, trembling and going on. You know what I'm saying? Call the man a caliginous, calamitous, calatinous junk or something. All them big words. But while they was going through all that shaking and trembling, what happened? Toto, the dog, went over and pulled the curtain back. In other words, the veil was rent in twain. Same story. And what does dog spell backwards? Look at that. The God consciousness looked further than the curtain, was able to see through it. It revealed what was behind it. God consciousness, the higher consciousness. And who was it? The wizard. And come to find out, what did they call him? A humbug. He wasn't what they thought he was. Matter of fact, he admitted he didn't know what they thought he knew or could do what they thought he could do. Everything that they needed. Those who were literally flesh and blood, they played it on out and said the Tin Man got a heart, but it was mechanical too. Said they would never be made practical until they can be made unbreakable. Y'all know I got to move it home, don't you? But anyway, that's what he did. But it all boiled down to them peeping who the wizard is, or who the wizard was. All right? He didn't know how to get himself back home when it turned out to the end, which goes to say that there are no more They are no more and no greater than we are, only by way of consciousness. When we elevate ourselves and raise our conscious level, I got 10 minutes? Good Lord, and I said I wasn't going to be able to talk for no 2 hours, Bobby. I forgot I had some stories to tell. But anyway, what's happening here, I'm going to close this out and I'm going to give you all the information. What you can do, how many of you remember Jordan Maxwell? Remember Jordan Maxwell? Have you been to his web page lately? Go to his web page. It's called BBC OA, like British Broadcast Company. But it's BBC, B as in boy. BBC O as in oatmeal. A. bbcoa.com. What I introduced you here to today, I had to because this is some heavy information. And when I first came in today, everybody who spoke alluded to something about this, whether it was the Wizard of Oz or whether the brother mentioned about the gas bills, the high gas bill. So, see, when you're in slavery, they can do anything they want to you. Those of us who studied slavery, it ain't no different. It ain't no different. They don't do white people no different than they do black folks. Some of them if they got some money. When you check this out, Redemption in Law, Theory and Practice, you will find out the dilemma that we are in. And we can help turn this thing around. Now, I ain't saying America's going to be saved, because it said Babylon the Great is fallen. All right? I understand that. It's become the habitation of devils, the hole of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. It's here. So you ain't going to stop that. But I'm telling you, something here can get you out of the way of a whole lot of mess that you've had the right to do since you were 18 years old, but you didn't know. That's called the ascension to fraud, because they didn't tell us about it. All right? And it'll work for you as well as work for anybody else. But all you have to do is learn how to work it. And what I introduced you to here tonight was enough to deal with that. It would take a couple of more sessions for me to go through this. Yes, sir. It's several authors to it. It's an organization, they say, put it together. They stopped putting their names on it because so many of them have been to jail in the making of it. All right? But the publisher's name is Vic Bidian. Okay, it's no ISBN number on it. They don't even want this to have no ISBN number. But if you go to BBCOA, all the information about this that you want to know is there, including some sample radio talk shows. Matter of fact, will be on there. But he's done a very good job. Jordan Maxwell has always been an impressive researcher to me in the things that he found and have shared. And this is one of the things that he participates in this. And if you go to his webpage, BBCOA, you'll see this book in there, and you see them talk about the things that I talked about. A lot of it I got right out of this book. Like I said, like Will Rogers, I do copy, but only from the best. All right? So that's that. And of course, everybody knows that the beat of television goes on. Let me ask this. Does anybody have any question? Any other question? Go ahead.
At the end of it, you know, he said the good witch made of snow. You know, even in the end, she came back again to Dorothy and said, all you had to do was close your eyes and clack your heels 3 times.
Click your heel 3 times. That's it. That's it. That is it. So it was, in other words, the power was always in you. For as one think in their hearts, so are they. All right? Any other questions? Oh. Oh, the locks that I had on this picture? Okay. And what you want to know, what was I talking about? It was this picture. These are chains. See, these are chains. Take a look at it. All right? And I call them not dreadlocks. You know, we have dreadlocks. I call those deadlocks. Each one of them has got him clipped on. If we are held, we are held by our head. Everybody remember the Matrix, right? Yeah. And when they got Lawrence Fishburne, the bad white boys got him. All right? They was in front of, had him on his knees, right? How were they holding him? By his arms, had his arm twisted? They had his head by what? The temples. They had him in the temple. They had him by the head. All right? Everything takes place at the head. That's why the crucifixion, it talks about Golgotha. It took place at the place of a what? Skull. Or another name for it is Calvary. If you look in an anatomy book and you look for skull, in Latin it's called Calvarium. So everything takes place up there. When they held him, they said, look at that. That used to be yours when you believed it did, but now it's ours. And he was holding them by the head.
The movie, the ship they was on was called Nebuchadnezzar. The king that stole David.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. That stole David. And when you look around, it's always about stealing something, but what it boils down to being is stealing knowledge and not knowing how to do with it. They wasn't matured enough to handle it, so look at the mess. And now if you look at in the Olympics, that's the greatest symbol right there, the Promethean torch. When they run in the torch for the Olympics, that's called the Promethean torch. What did Prometheus get that fire? He stole it from the gods. Now, what did the Greeks themselves say? Only gods come from Africa. Where did they first go to school and get the knowledge? From there. And then they took it, since they didn't live long enough, they had to shorten a 40-year education down to 4 years. And that's how you got your college degree. Okay. One more? Any other questions? Yes, sir. Uh-huh. I sure didn't, and you can't get it. But what you can do is you can perfect a security interest on it, become the whole in due course, and that's the highest claim. Anytime they present something in the straw man name, you just accept it for value. Once you're holding due course, and of course all that'll be told about, once you're holding due course, when they make a presentment in this straw man's name, all you do is accept it for value, because now you own him and you're no longer a debtor, but you are a creditor, and the court was set up for you. So whatever the straw man owes, it comes to you, because now you are the holder in due course. So if the straw man owed $200, then that means that $200 comes to you. But who's been paying for him? You have, which means that you keep the money. Or in other words, and receive all the records of the court, the judge or the referee got to fold it up and give them to you, because now this is your man. This is your straw person. He's been captured. Now I know that's, but the main thing you have to do is distinguish between the flesh and blood you and the artificial person or the legal fiction, the straw man spelled in all caps. All of your bills come in that, credit cards come in that. They cannot do business with you. They can only do it with the straw man. And now if you have gone and you've got you've secured the lien, you secured you perfected your security interest, you become the holder in due course. The government is only the holder, and they can be the holder until you come up and claim it. But you just didn't know. Now, you almost know. Follow up that information. Yes, ma'am.
I always wanted to know if this land's president's inauguration, they had an eagle in the beginning of that parade, and one huge one right at the end. What does that represent?
The eagle. Well, the eagle is a national bird. Of course, Benjamin Franklin told them they ought to use a wild turkey because it would be more conducive to what they were supposed to be about, since the eagle was a bird of prey. Of course, that's what they turned out to be, one of your biggest imperialist nations in the world. All right? Okay.
All right.
Well, that's it. Thank you so much.